is it normal to think that somehow you are out of time or late when going through the dark night of the soul? Um, it's normal for your ego to think that. So the ego is the one that is concerned with time because the ego is finite. The ego is not infinite like you are. The ego you only have during this physical incarnation. There is no ego when you go back to source consciousness. When you lose the physical avatar that is housing your consciousness, because there's no need to survive in the non-physical. You can't die. You only need an ego in the present to protect you from death, essentially. But essentially, that question comes from the ego being uncomfortable in the present moment, in the dark night of the soul. So the ego is going to say, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Is this thing over? How long is this going to take? Because the ego doesn't like being uncomfortable. Remember, the ego is in charge of survival. So when the ego is uncomfortable, that's a threat to survival. And so the ego will have you in fight or flight until it can find a way to get comfortable if you let it in the driver's seat. So this is why we want to show the ego that, I hear what you're saying. However, I got this. Go sit over at the kiddie table. We're going to dig into this dark night of the soul and get the healing from it so that we actually graduate from it and not try to blast through it and don't get the lesson. Because when you don't get the lesson, that is going to keep coming around until you do get the lesson. So you want to get out of the dark night of the soul the right way, which is healing.